Y'all know what a yerba mate is? What is yerba mate? I feel like I've seen this. I've seen people drink it, and I see it at like CVS, but I don't know what it is. I thought it was like a beer thing, but there's like no alcohol in it. So, and anyways, that's unrelated. It was just on my mind. Um, Today, really, I think the pre-context for the video today is, y'all ever seen that Adam Ragusea video?
No! 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 No!
Where he's all like, "This is why I this is why I season my cutting board and not my steak." You know, like the Adam Ragusea meme pipeline. There's that one YouTube channel that all their videos are just like weird YouTube poops of Adam Ragusea cooking videos. Um, I don't know how far down the trenches you are, such as I am, when I used to keep up with all that stuff. And maybe one day I'll do a whole cooking YouTuber tier list because I have many opinions on that. But that sort of YouTube title gave me an idea, right? Why I season my cutting board and not my steak. And I thought, you know what? A really good photography video would be why I underexpose my photos and not properly expose them. This is me, I guess, maybe attempting to defend my mistakenly underexposed photographs and trying to find some sort of artistic merit in my mistakes. I'm not saying that all these photos were taken with the express interest in my head that I wanted them to be properly exposed, but evidently the way they came out was underexposed. But now I'm trying to retroactively, sell it as if I totally planned this and this is stylistically designed to be this way. So let's look at some underexposed photography and why it might be the next big thing. Maybe I'll call it, the YouTube video will be like, why you should be underexposing your photos. Now, I believe the majority of these were taken on Portra 800, and if you know anything about me and my hot takes, I don't care about Portra 800. Sorry. But let's look at this. This is kind of like the American football album cover house, in a way. But as you can see, clearly underexposed, right? It has that like haziness to it. But I'm thinking, even if it was properly exposed, would I have liked it as a normal exposed photograph? I don't know. Something about the underexposure in this one kind of gives it a very like old-timey, very much like worn down vibe to it. And I do like how you can still see the lighting in the three windows here very well. So actually for me, I don't think the underexposure really bothers me in this photo. So I'm going to count this as like a win. Now this is a photo of a restaurant. Once again, underexposed. In the blacks and like the shadows, they're very murky and muddy. But pretty much everything inside that's like properly lit looks pretty good actually. I do like the sharpness that you can see inside of the windows and the people in there. And in this case, I do think a properly exposed image would look much better than the underexposed image I have. But as it stands, I'm actually not too mad at it. But I definitely don't like how muddy the shadows look. So in this case, proper exposure probably would have been better off. Okay, so this one, parking lot. This one, it is underexposed, technically, I think. But you really can't tell sometimes. And I do like the way it looks. I don't really think making it a properly exposed photo would really change too much about it. And I think as it stands, it's really nice. I like the colors. The lighting looks good to me. And I don't think this is a bad underexposed photo. I think this is, all things considered, pretty good. Now this last one, this is actually taken on not Portrait 800. This is Fuji 200 or Fuji 400. I don't really know. But this is another parking lot, and this one is underexposed. You can tell by like the sort of yellow tint around the photo. But I think this one looks really cool. I think the underexposure actually adds a lot of character to the photo. We can see a little bit this, I don't know what you would call it, maybe like an orange light leak on the right side corner of the photo. I really like that haze to it. And I feel like if it was properly exposed, I think that the blue sky or the dark blue sky would look kind of like plain and boring a little bit. So I like the overall haziness and slightly greenish tint that the photo has. And I think that because it is underexposed, it brings that element to the photo that I don't think I would have seen otherwise. So in this case, I like the slightly underexposed vibe of this photo. So I would give this probably the best looking of my outdoor underexposed photos. So this second set of photos, it's underexposed, and the main subjects in these photos are people. So we're trying to capture people in underexposed settings. What we have here is very bad, actually. I'm not really going to defend this one at all. This would have looked way better, obviously, if it was properly exposed. This is shot on Portrait 800. This is inside of a karaoke place, and my friend there, you can barely make out his shape, is lying on the floor. And yeah, I mean, I was really testing the limits of Portrait 800 here and my camera settings. Obviously I'm a terrible photographer because this looks horrendous, but I don't think the underexposure adds anything to this. I think this looks pretty bad. So yikes. Okay, in stark contrast, this I'm pretty sure was on Kodak 200. I think it was a 200 speed film. This is underexposed. Once again, we have like the sort of muddy shadows in the background over there, but I do think this came out obviously much better than the last one I showed you. The lighting looks very nice. My subject, he is a bit soft in the image, clarity wise, but I think it looks cool. It has a retro vibe to it. I think the underexposure works here, and I think even if it was properly exposed, I don't think we would have gotten that same sort of vibe. So in this scenario, the underexposure, it does work for me. Not like a favorite per se, but I do like it. This is within the same night, a slightly sharper image, and this one I think looks really cool. And keep in mind, this is like no tripod. I'm like hand holding my camera, taking these photos, and this one looks good. I like it a lot. I mean, sure, I guess it is underexposed, but I don't really think it hinders the quality of the image. I think there's good action. I have 3 subjects here. The lighting from the hanging light bulbs looks really cool, I think, and it is quite sharp. At least my friend in the center here is very well lit, and I like it. I think this is a good photo, underexposed or not. And I love the orange tint of the photo. So this is a nice one, I think. This one is underexposed to a very large degree. I think in concept, I had a good idea for the photo. I really wanted the silhouetted look for this, but this is way too underexposed. So in a sense, in this photo, I was intentionally trying to underexpose my subject. I wanted my friend here, who you can see is sort of outlined, to just remain silhouetted in shadow. So I wanted to underexpose him, but have the lighting be properly exposed. But here, I think my settings are way off, and I severely underexposed everything here, to the point where it just doesn't work as intended. This is a case where I really should go back and try to redo it again, because I think it would look really sick as a properly exposed photograph. Okay, this one. Maybe controversially, I actually kind of like the look of this one. This very underexposed, you know, but there is this sort of, I don't know. There's a quality about the look of the picture that I really, really like. It almost reminds me of like, it could be like an album cover for like some sort of like emo band camp, like lo-fi emo noise rock album. That's what the vibe is giving to me. I feel like properly exposed, it wouldn't look that interesting, but the underexposure really gives it that amateur quality to it, a very homespun DIY feel to it. And I like how we can barely make out the facial expression of my subject here. You know, we really can't see it that well, but we see enough detail to where we can kind of like guess the feeling and the vibe and kind of like project onto it. So here I actually really like how the underexposure works here. I mean, maybe it is a little bit too underexposed. Maybe I would like try to take the exposure up just slightly but still keep it underexposed. But as it is, I think this is kind of fire actually. I do like the vibe captured here. And the last one, this is a major throwback. This is from 2005. This is a photo of my brother and I guess during Halloween or something like that. This is quintessential Midwestern emo album cover right here. You just put like the text for your album, you know, like sometimes I don't want to think about it at all. You just put it right there or something like that. But this looks pretty cool. It's very underexposed, as you can tell. It's very noisy. But honestly, if it was properly exposed, it wouldn't look nearly as cool. And once again, it does have that very homespun DIY feel to it. And I really, really like it. I think this photo is really cool and sick, and it captures a really cool moment in time in this very underexposed way. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this one. I think this looks sick. It looks really darn cool. Now we're talking black and white underexposure. Now, underexposing in black and white, it can be interesting, you know, in and of itself. So I only have a couple examples here that I thought were worth mentioning. So here's this one here. I really like the way this one looks. Like I said, it is underexposed in the sense that our subject here is, you know, you can't really tell, or he's not lit properly, but strangely, it's still quite sharp, I think. And all the lighting sources that came from this photo, you know, the big one in the background, plus the sort of smaller circular lights, I think they look really sick, actually. And to me, this actually looks kind of cinematic, actually. I'm kind of a big fan of this one in its very underexposed way. I think we see enough of a visual, you know, we see enough of the subject here to get an idea of them where we don't really need them fully exposed. And I think this one is really awesome. So this one, I guess I count this one as underexposed. Maybe it's not clearly evident, but my issue with this photo was that I really wanted to capture different textures of like the clothing that was on the bed here, because there was like just like a giant pile of like thrown together clothing that I thought looked kind of cool. I was like, let me take a photo of this. And as I'm looking at it right now, it's really hard to discern the pieces from each other because it just forms a blob of just like dark shadows here on the bed. And it is cool that the white pillow does provide that contrast, but I really think that having more visual information here with the proper, maybe more lighting in the photo would have made it look a lot nicer. All right, this one. We got our classic black and white smoking photo. It couldn't get more generic than this from my end, but it's okay. We're here to learn. This, I think, looks cool. I don't really think that having it properly exposed would make me like it any more or any less. I think the way it is, it looks pretty cool. I like the underexposure. I think the graininess and the noise that comes from it being underexposed sort of adds to the vibe of like the smoke coming up there. Uh, I don't know. I'm not mad at it when I look at it, underexposed or not. I think it looks pretty sick. Now this one is pretty cool. I don't think this is. I don't know if I'd call it. Okay, it is underexposed in the sense that if you were going for, lighting properly for the people in the photo, but I think it looks. I don't know. I can't help it. I think it looks sick as hell. Like the fact that you can barely like tell exactly what they look like, and like there's different like lighting on each of the subjects here. Like my friend on the left here has more lighting on him. You can kind of see his face and him doing the peace sign here. And my other friend here in the middle is more obscured in shadow, And I think it looks sick. I like the contrast in the lighting and the way it's hitting my friends. Of course, the one source of light coming down on them like that is very, very cool. I like how it is, in a way, pretty sharp. It's not very blurry at all. And I think the vibe of the photo is just, sick. It's cool. And honestly, if it was exposed, I guess, quote unquote, properly to like get more information out of like all of my friends here, I don't think it would have I think it would have looked a bit boring actually, to have, more lighting everywhere. So I think in this case, having it be underexposed like this was a really good result, even though it was a total fluke, as most things are for me. I think maybe a more talented person could come up with more interesting things to do with underexposure. But I think that some of these photos were kind of cool. Yeah, that's about it. This is why I season my cutting. No, this is why I underexpose my photos and not properly expose them. So yeah, thanks for watching, I guess.